And drilling holes in yard confuses his neighbors, but leaves them stunned days later. There's no better way to relax in the summertime than lounging by the pool, and it's even better when it's in your very own backyard. The only problem? Creating your own poolside oasis is expensive, and even the simplest of designs can put a heavy strain on your bank account. So when one homeowner decided that he wanted to add a splashy feature to his backyard, he smartly skipped the big box stores and went the DIY route instead. Want to follow his lead? Apparently, all it takes is some wood, tools, and a lot of creativity. Lounging on a deck by the pool is a great way to spend your time on hot summer days. One homeowner wanted to join in the fun, and though he had an above-ground pool, he didn't have a deck to lounge on. So he decided to do something about that. After he cleared away the area surrounding the pool, he knew exactly how he envisioned his DIY project. First, he dug holes deep enough to support beams. Since the beams would have to support the weight of outdoor furniture and people, they needed to be thick and heavy, and the corresponding holes would need to be deep. The homeowner also needed to make sure the holes were deep enough to sit beneath the frost line in the winter months. If they weren't, the bottom of the poles would deteriorate from the cold and the entire pool deck would collapse. One thing was for sure, this was going to be a lot of work. Luckily, he was up for it. He also put plastic standoffs in the bottom of each beam. Each one was a few inches thick and very durable. This way, he could prevent any concrete from coming into direct contact with the wood and avoid rotting. After digging the holes and laying out the beams in his yard, he slowly poured a few inches of concrete into the bottom of each pit. He made sure the wet cement was level, and then he inserted a beam into each one. It took the homeowner a few minutes to position the beams correctly. He needed to support them with his arms while they sank firmly into the concrete. He then attached long wooden boards horizontally onto the beams. Before long, his project was beginning to take shape. To fill in the rest of the holes around each beam, he used stones instead of soil. This would help with drainage and keep moisture away from the wood. If the wood got wet during a storm, it would make the structure unsafe. Once the frame was all set, he mounted several metal brackets for the next building phase. It was important that he measured the spacing of the brackets very carefully, or else the wooden planks wouldn't fit correctly. The next phase of his DIY project was building the stairs. He used high support beams across the top to keep the posts from twisting during construction. Obviously, he wanted everything to be as sturdy and structurally sound as possible. Now it was time to start installing the flooring. The homeowner used several long, flat planks of wood and installed the joints. He wanted the floor to be as strong as possible. In the end, he used twice as many boards as he originally intended. Once the floorboards were securely in place, the homeowner was able to finally remove the temporary support beams. The entire wooden frame was now able to stand on its own. This made the rest of the project much easier to complete. Next, using a chainsaw, he trimmed about a foot off each beam on the railing, making them a much more manageable height. It wouldn't have made sense to have the deck's banister higher than people could reach, of course. At each step along the way, he made sure to measure carefully, using templates like this one for a guide. He had experience with much smaller DIY projects in the past, and he knew how important the templates were. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to complete his project before the cold winds of winter started to blow. Forced to cover everything up and wait until better conditions, the homeowner carefully draped all the wood with a massive tarp so the snow and ice wouldn't warp the beams. Finally, after months of waiting, the thaw of spring arrived, and he got right back to work. The tarp he placed over the structure did its job, and the wood underneath was perfectly preserved. Phew! Now it was time to finish the flooring. To make sure each board was cut properly, the homeowner laid them all out, then walked underneath the deck and marked each one with a pencil to indicate where he should cut. Even though he had extra wood in case he made a mistake, it was better to simply get it right the first time. As they say, measure twice and cut once. Finally, after months of hard work, he and his family had this beautiful pool deck all to themselves. He tested it out first to make sure it was sturdy, and to his delight, everything was perfect. He placed a few chairs and outdoor tables on top too. Now the homeowner and his family could sit by the water and enjoy this gorgeous view just in time for summer. He snapped a bunch of photos of the new deck and sent them to his friends and loved ones, and everyone couldn't wait to use it. Can you blame them? That deck looks amazing. All his hard work truly paid off, didn't it? Share this impressive DIY pool deck project with your friends below.